Welcome. That's not the right thing. This is the right thing. This is Touhou characters with credit card information. So what is this? This is an idea that was put in my head, and I was like, you know what? That could be fun. So let's do that. So first we got to establish some ground rules here. So we need to create a scenario that all characters have to abide by for it to make the most sense for consistency. As consistent as we can make it anyway. You probably won't agree with what I say. Maybe you will. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. You don't matter. Anyway, so here's the scenario. Alright? Credit card. This is your credit card. Alright? You have lost your credit card. Okay? You don't know where you lost it. All you know is that you lost it. And somebody has found it. But they are unaware that it is yours, and they are only partially aware as to what a credit card is. What do I mean by that? Okay, so let's assume here that we get the Renosuke explanation. Because as you know, Renosuke knows what an item's purpose is, but not how to use it. So Renosuke's evaluation of a credit card should be that it allows access to a infinite amount of money. Alright? An infinite amount of money. However, as the card belongs to someone, the money is not just being pulled out of thin air. The money is essentially coming from someone else. Now, person here does not know. The person who picks up the card doesn't know that whose card it is. You're a complete stranger. So, the knowledge is that this card will produce infinite wealth for them. But because they also are aware, partially I should say, that this infinite wealth is at the cost of another. So it's not just creating money for free. Somebody else is hiding the cost. So this is our situation. So in a situation like this, who would you like to find your credit card? Now obviously as the character, obviously as you who realizes you lost your credit card, you get it canceled. But before you can get it canceled, something's gonna happen. Let's say for all intents and purposes, it takes about 3 days for you to realize your credit card is missing, unless you discover charge fees, in which case then you discover it earlier. So a 3-day window. And also we're gonna assume that the majority of your purchases, well, I guess we're not gonna specify really what the purchases are too much, because I don't want to play the game called can you fight these. Like, no, let's just assume that if the money's spent, you owe it, no ifs, ands, or buts, because this is a dystopian setting. So, well, fuck me, I guess. So with that said, there is our scenario. To recap, you have lost your credit card. Random character finds your credit card. To them, the credit card owner is a stranger, and the only information they are armed with is that the credit card allows them near infinite access to money, but they they know partially, not fully, partially, that the money that they're getting or using is not just being, it has to belong to someone. So somebody is going to be paying for this in some way. It's not just free money out of the air. Okay. Alright. So let's begin. Character 1. Reimu. If Reimu got access to a card with infinite money, what would she do with it? What would she do? What would she do with it? Oh my Tyrio. Spend a lot. Spend a lot. That's Reimu. Now here's the thing. Here's how I view Reimu. Reimu is she would get money. She would buy some stuff like good food, and maybe some stuff that she needs. But she's not the kind of character who will go out and buy a bunch of like useless luxury items. She would, you know, she would spend a good amount. She would definitely spend a good amount. But her purchases overall are like not overly luxurious. It's not the kind of purchases that she's like aware that it's coming off someone else's dollar so much as it is just she's buying what she needs without too much on the wants. So that's kind of how that would go. That's what I think anyway. So she would do that, and then you know, let's assume 3 days you're like, hey, I lost my credit card. Well, we're not interacting. We're not interacting with the character. That's too much trouble. We're just assuming that after day 3, regardless of the situation, after day 3, the card will be canceled and nothing can be spent on it. So Reimu would spend a lot, but well, I mean, any credit card purchase will immediately alert you that something's going on, right? So there's that. But I guess the urgency in which you take care of the situation is based on the bill. So Reimu's definitely a day 1 cancellation. You figure out your bill. You'll definitely get something from your bank. It's like, hey, this you? And you'll be like, no. That'll be Reimu. That'll be Reimu. Would you be mad at her? Maybe a little bit. But again, she's not buying a bunch of luxurious bullshit. She's just buying, you know, buying some actual real food. She's buying real food. Alright, what about Marissa? So Marissa's an interesting one because I feel like some people would say that Marissa would probably just spend all of it. But at the same time, Marissa's opinion of money is actually kind of unknown. Like, we know Reimu in the mangas, the written works, is she's quite an opportunistic businesswoman. She's pretty shrewd about that. But I don't think I ever really see Marissa hurting for money or like thinking too much about money itself. Like, she has money, she'll spend money, but she never really seems to be. She's more interested in curios and you know, learning, but she's not really interested in money. You know? Tomorrow. Thank you for the resub. I don't know what tomorrow is. I don't know what tomorrow is. So, I don't think money. Total 20. Oh, that's on Sunday? Well, it won't be on Steam tomorrow, will it? Will it be on Steam? You know the demo characters are here now? Look at this. Wow. It'll either be on Steam tomorrow or Monday. Either way, I'll play it on Monday. It's not gonna be in English. So be prepared for that. I will not be ready to translate any of it, so be prepared for that. But I will play it again when the story's like done, I think. Or I'll read the translated page if it exists. It really depends. But either way, I'm gonna play it as soon as I can. And the main reason for that is because if I don't, I'm gonna get spoiled to the characters in some capacity. So I might as well get that out of the fucking way as soon as possible. You know? That kind of thing. Alright. Alright, so I would put Marissa in spends, but small, no, spends, but not intensely. That's a word. So there you go. There you go. So Marissa would probably spend some money if it meant she could get her hands on some things for magic. But I don't think she would spend as much as Reimu, because Reimu would buy sure, Marissa would find some curios and shit, but like most of the stuff she takes, she just, you know, she just takes. So buying specific stuff would be on the lighter end, and I don't think she's hurting on money. She might not even spend anything at all. So it's a pretty big if. I mean, obviously it's a big if. We're talking about credit cards against Sokyo. We're talking about credit cards against Sokyo. But if I had to choose between these two characters, I would I would assume that Marissa's credit card debt would not be nearly as bad as Reimu's. However, and this is just personal opinion. This is personal opinion. I wouldn't mind as much if Reimu bought herself a nice steak, you know? If Reimu bought herself a nice steak, whatever. All she does is eat dirt after all. It's not good for her. It's not good for her. You spent $250 on grade A beef? Yep. Understandable. Some good meat. Okay, so there's a little bit of cutoff on the side here. So, what about we got the PC98 Hakure Miko. Tries to find owner. This is the good little boys and girls tier. All right. 250 bro. I don't know how much Wagyu beef costs, my guy. I don't know. I never had it. I would put purple Reimu here. I don't think Reimu is like this PC98 Reimu is not greedy. I mean, I don't think she is. I think she would probably try to find the owner, if only because Genji would nag her ear off, you know? That's not yours. You can't use that. Fine, whatever. I'll go find the owner. So you can interpret it a couple ways, but I think she would probably try to find the owner, either begrudgingly or because it's just her sense of duty. Alright, and then we have Sengyoku Male. Above material wealth. This is a tier for characters who don't care about money. So there's gonna be a lot. This is a dump tier. This is the dump tier. So these characters are above material wealth because we don't know anything about them. They're gatekeepers. They're guardians. They probably don't have. I don't know. Who knows, dude? Why do you keep saying more tiers? Like I added a single tier. You know, there's a button here that says add tier, right? And I haven't clicked it once, right? You're aware of that, right? You guys aren't even getting your own meme right. Your meme has devolved where nobody even understands what it is anymore. This is what you've done. This is what you've done. You can't use more tiers until I click the add tier button. All I've been doing is renaming tiers. Oh, now they're just eating chip. Great. Alright, yep. Yep, just ignore me. Yeah, ignore me, whatever. Who cares? Who gives a shit? My opinion doesn't fucking matter here. Do whatever you want. Okay. Eyeballs. So, would you say that eyeballs are above material wealth, or do you think that it's just eyeballs? Or, you know? Like, because like above material wealth means the characters are beyond the need for that, but eyeballs are just eyeballs. What the fuck would eyeballs do? That's not the point, though. The point I'm trying to make is here is that can you categorize a character like Yuga Magan in the same category as a character who would like not spend the money because they simply don't like they don't see the need to use money at all, you know? Like, is it really above it? It's more like it's indifferent to it. It's more like it's just indifferent to it. But then that's just adding a tier specifically for like 5 characters. And because we also have like Evil Eye Sigma and Mimi-chan, right? And Rukoto. These are all characters that they're not above material wealth. They just have no real like, you know? They don't really have they have nothing really there for them to like, you know what I mean? Why it's weird. I feel like I need to make a whole fucking tier specifically for that. I guess no concept of money? Would that work? Yeah. We'll do that. No concept of money. So that would be for characters that just, you know, like this. There you go. There you go. See? Change above material wealth that doesn't care about wealth. No, because I think above is better for this series because a lot of characters a lot of characters in this series are pretty full of themselves. So having a tier dedicated to being like they're above it. Like some characters like Remy are rich already. They have money, they have fortune, but like would you say they're above material wealth? I would say that they're not above it, but like I guess they're above like using somebody else's for free. But I would say that Miko would consider herself above material wealth. She's only interested in her pursuit of Taoism. So I would consider her haughty enough to do that situation personally. But like, I don't know, it's hard. It's like we're gonna argue semantics on every character. Like Mima would be above material wealth. Mima definitely belongs in this tier. Mima only has like 2 objectives, and that is piss Reimu off and learn magic. At least as far as sources and fandom goes, anyway. And usually it's just her pursuit of magic. Granted, she could, you know, get stuff with money, but I feel like she's the kind of character who just doesn't give a shit about like how the world works. She marches to the beat of her own drum. So in this case, she is above material wealth. Maybe material wealth isn't the best way to phrase it. Maybe that's not the best way to. Maybe that's not the best way to phrase it. Because it's not like the credit card is not material wealth. It's wealth. But you spend, you know, you spend the money on the card for material, but there are some characters who wouldn't spend the money on the principal. But then there's characters that like again, Remy for example. She wouldn't spend the money. She's too proud for that. But she's definitely not above material wealth because she's so showy. Her house is big. So I don't think material wealth is the right word for this. Above using others' money? Above abusing others' wealth. Let's try that. Well, I don't know if that works either, because Mima definitely not above that. But I don't know if that works. I don't know if that works. I'm thinking about it. Doesn't care. Okay, I'm gonna go back to material wealth. And I'll just make a new tier. I'll just make a new tier after. Okay. Sees no value in money. No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I don't think that like these characters, it's not that they don't see value in money, but it's just that they're above, they're kind of above it, you know, based on their own principles. Again, to use Mima as an example, Mima would understand that money can buy, you know, stuff for learning, but in Mima's case, the way she is, she prefers to get it, like, you know, get her own hands dirty and just go out and take what she wants. So she's beyond needing to like, you know, she's beyond needing the money to spend on things. If she wants it, she'll just take it, learn it, kind of deal. I don't know. It's hard to encompass everything in one category. So I'll probably just leave it like that and make new categories. All right, Ellie. Well, would she spend a lot? Sure. Streamer based on what? My own opinion. Why that? Because Ellie is wearing nice clothes and she's all dressed up. So she would probably be the type to just spend on stuff because I said so. There you go. What about Kikuri? Kikuri is a giant moon. She is literally above material wealth. She probably has concept of money, but you know, she's just a moon. That's it. That's all. She's just a moon. Sariel, definitely above material wealth. Easily. That is, you know, that's a big scary angel. You think she gives a shit about your Benjamins? And Kongara. I don't know. Oni liked to drink, but she's kind of different. I don't think she'd do it, just based on her position as like a final boss, parallel to Sariel. Like I do feel like they're the kind of characters that are they're scary. You know, when you come face to face with them, they kind of command respect, and they wouldn't do goofy things. You know. So I kind of treat the Touhou 1 characters, to me, feel pretty serious in the grand scheme of things. They seem pretty serious, no nonsense. Except Ellie, I just think she's adorable. But, you know, that's all. That's all. Alright. Touhou 2, Genji. Yep. Tries to find the owner. Like I said earlier, if Reimu didn't do it on her own, Genji would definitely be the one in her ear, telling her to do it. What about Rika? Inescapable debt inbound. Okay. Alright. Do you have any idea what this character does in her spare time? This fucking character builds tanks, dude. You gave her funds? She'll build a Metal Gear. Holy shit. She'll build a Metal Gear, dude. You will never, she'll spend enough that you will never be able to fully, you'll never be able to pay it off. Inescapable debt. You will have debt for a long time. It's not like Reimu and Ellie here, where it's like you're gonna hit a big chunk. It's that they're gonna go so overcharged that you're gonna be paying that shit off for a while, and all you're gonna get from them is an oopsie. But you'll never know they did it. You'll never know she did it. Meira, above material wealth, based on my opinion. Marissa, I would put her here. Tinky winky noises. Ha 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 ha. I would put her here. I don't think that PC98 Marissa is too far from Windows Marissa, at least relative to how Reimu is from her PC98 counterpart. Purple Marissa is kind of a shithead, but like her Windows counterpart, she is mostly just obsessed with the pursuit of magic. So, while she would probably use some money, I don't think she would do much. But I don't think she'd go out of her way to return it. But she would probably use it for just kind of what she wants in the moment, and then be like, whatever, okay. You know? Isn't there a movie? There's a movie that's, it's like some guy has to spend like $1 billion in like a day or something, right? I don't remember what that movie is. And it's like surprisingly hard to spend a very large amount of cash. So these are the kind of characters that they would just kind of buy what they want and be like, all right, cool. But then there are some characters who have way too much imagination, or the things that they want are grossly expensive. So there you go. And then Evil Eye Sigma, which is a tank, who has no concept of wealth. Ellen. Ellen is a sugar cube. So she wouldn't spend it. She wouldn't spend your money. Well, you know what? She probably wouldn't try to find the owner. She wouldn't try to find the owner. Simply doesn't use it. Simply doesn't use it. She wouldn't try to find the owner. She just wouldn't use it. That's all. Just wouldn't use it. She might not even really know how to use it. She just wouldn't use it. That's all. What about Kotohime? I have no idea. Glorop? Glorop. Nice, bro. Nice, bro. Good one, bro. Well done, bro. Glorop. I don't know what Kotohime would do. Well, apparently she's a princess. She's a princess, so she probably has money. I don't know. Would she try to find the owner? Would she simply not use it? I just think she wouldn't use it. That's all. I just think she wouldn't use it because that would be a crime. Would she try to find the owner? Maybe not. Hard to say, but you know, she just wants to lock up Reimu. Kana. Kana's only goal is to scare people. So, I would actually put her... I would put her here. She's not above material wealth. You know, like this category is kind of for characters that they have no reaction to it, or they have like a snobby reaction to it. Kana would just not use it. It wouldn't do anything for her. She wouldn't bother with it. And here's Rikako right up here with old Rika. You can bet that these two characters definitely have something in mind to spend a lot of money on, and that would be, you know, they would for the pursuit of knowledge and science and other things. So yeah, I guess I'm funding a research grant. I better get some fucking royalties. I'll tell you that. All right, Chieri. Okay, so Chieri and Yumemi would go here. And the reason for this is because Chieri would probably in an act of weakness use it. But these characters are from the outside world, so they're actually very familiar with how a credit card works. They're very familiar with how a credit card works. So even if Chieri had a moment of weakness, Yumemi would immediately put a stop to it. So they would be good Samaritans, and they would try to find the owner. They wouldn't simply not use it. That would be, you know, they wouldn't ignore it, but they wouldn't use it. These are upstanding citizens. Yes, very good. Rukoto. Well, I don't actually know if Rukoto has enough, like, knowledge to have a concept of money. But I would probably just put her in this category anyway, because, like, who knows? Do you think if you told Rukoto to spend money, she would just do it? She wouldn't have any... Well, she wouldn't have a concept of it, but she would still be able to spend it, right? And then we have a missile. Okay. Orange. Okay, so Orange is one of those characters that not only do you have no information on her, but there's like no real read to her personality. There's no real read to her personality, so like it's surprisingly hard to say anything about this character. So I would probably put her here, if only because she doesn't want the hassle. But I don't know. Then we have Kurumi. Kurumi and Ellie definitely spend a lot. My argument is because they won't know exactly what it is. They'll bring it to Yuka, and Yuka will tell them that they should just spend as much as they want, and they will fucking do that. And they wear fancy clothes, so they will go buy fancy outfits. And then you will have a lot of... They will buy as much as they can find in one shopping trip. And that'll be it. Well, it won't be as much as fucking Tank Builder 1 and Science Freak 2 over here. But Yuka will definitely enable these two to burn through somebody else's money with no consequence. That said, despite Yuka's, you know, Yuka's definitely well off. Well, I guess it's different for the different Yukas. Yuka might spend it, but she wouldn't go as crazy, mostly because I don't think she'd be that interested. But I could see PC98 Yuka doing something with it. Windows Yuka, not as much. Windows Yuka just travels around and looks at flowers. Honestly, that's like kind of the extent of her character, which is fine. That's fine, but I just feel like because of the nice mansion that she lives in, fancy clothes, and, you know, her servants, she would probably spend a little bit. and PC98, but by Windows, she's a lot more nomadic. Mugetsu and Gengetsu. Probably here. I mean, Mugetsu created a whole fucking world. What does she need? What does she need your money for? And Gengetsu, well, I don't know, dude. Does anybody? What would Gengetsu spend it on? Fucking bird wax. Like, they created a whole goddamn world. I think they're fine without my credit card. How much money do you think you're gonna get out of my credit card anyway, huh? Sarah. Stage 1 bosses in PC98 are in tough shape. They are in tough shape, that's for sure. I don't know, I feel like she has a pretty good sense of, like, duty, but that doesn't really affect anything. Maybe she wouldn't even care that much. I would say she probably would ignore it. No Amake for MS. Well, there's not much of anything for PC98 in general. Let's be real. Luis? Souvenirs. I think she would do it. She is a demon, you know. She's from Makai. She dresses nicely, but she, you know, if she found it, she might spend a little bit if she needs a little extra. I don't think she'd try to find the owner. I don't think she just wouldn't use it. Might spend a little bit, just a little bit though, just a little bit, itty bitty, just a little bit. Alice, I don't know. Nice fart. PC98 Alice has dolls, but she's more into magic. She's all dressed up and fancy. It's a hard call. Thinking about it. Is she good-natured to try and find the owner? No. I think she just ignores it. I think she just ignores it. Yuki? Yeah. Yeah, this sounds right. Yeah, this sounds right. Yuki would probably get this and be like, you know, let's get some stuff, and then she'll buy some stuff, and then Mai will just charge everything to the card, everything. Yuki's, you know, Yuki's mischievous, but she's just gonna buy what she wants with it. But then Mai is just like gonna go out of her way to maximize as much as possible out of that card, and that's what's gonna happen there. Yumeko, Yumeko is above material wealth. So is Shinky. But in my heart of hearts, I want to believe she would try to find the owner. Could you imagine just sitting on a bench and you look in your wallet and you're like, oh fuck, my card's gone. And then the fucking clouds part and a pillar of light comes down from the sky. And then it's just Shinky. She's like, is this yours? And then she hands you your fucking card. And it's like, oh, yeah, thanks. And then she just floats back up into the opening and closes the cloud hole. And it's like, yeah, okay, that was angelic. That just made me, I don't know what that did. That just altered the course of my life forever. Would that actually happen? I don't know, probably not. Would I want that to happen? Yes. Do I believe that would happen based on my own desires? Yes. Blood is not lucky. Alright, whatever you say, Glopper. Whatever you say. me get my water. Alright. Next. Rumia. Rumia buys herself lunch and dinner. Would she spend a lot? I feel like she wouldn't really understand that she can just keep spending it, and she would just use it to buy herself some lunch, and that's kind of it. That would be the idea put into her head. Just, oh, I can use this for infinite money. Oh my god, one chicken skewer, please. And then she has a chicken skewer, and she's like, damn, that was good shit. But then she wouldn't really like she doesn't fully grasp that she could just buy another chicken skewer, and she doesn't fully grasp that idea. She just understands that she can make a single transaction with this card, and in place of money. But she doesn't seem to fully comprehend that she can keep doing it. So there you go. One beef kebab, please. One chicken tender. You know, Rumia, you could have many chicken tender with that card. What? You already gave it back, though. Well, I'm gonna go get it back. No, Rumia, you can't do that. Why not? You already gave it back. The card's canceled. You need to get a new one. Then I'll just take the new one. You can't do that either. That's a crime. That's called theft. What? Oh boy, here we go. Let me explain, Rumia. You can't do that. That kills people. Daiose. So, depending on your interpretation of Daiose, this can go in a couple different categories. If she's, a true fairy, she would probably spend a little bit. But my favorite Dai is the good-natured Dai. The one who keeps the fairies out of bad trouble. So Dai would try to find the owner. Chirno, I just think she doesn't care. I don't know if I'd call her above material wealth. I just don't think she has a good grasp on what exactly money can do for her. So if she finds the card and brings it to Dai, and Dai is like, we gotta return it, then Chirno's just along for the ride. So Chirno just wouldn't use it because she wouldn't really, bother with it. Would any fairy return to the owner? The Dai, in my mind, would. But again, if you believe Dai to be more akin to a pretty average fairy who pulls a lot of pranks, then she probably wouldn't. But I like the Dai who's basically the wrangler of the group. She's like Letty Jr. When Letty's not, Dai is the mom of the group, but she can get overwhelmed, and then when Letty shows up, she just slaps them all across the head. And that gets them under control. Dai can't do that, so she's like Mom Light. She's Mom Light. Alright, Mailing. Mailing. Okay, so I think this is also one that would be kind of based on your idea. You could probably write a whole gag manga on this, but Mailing could be the kind of character who gets the card and spends it and goes a little bit overboard, gets in trouble with the mansion for doing so, or she doesn't use it because she doesn't use it, or she tries to find the owner because she's got a good nature. So I do believe that her duty to the SDM would probably prevent her from doing anything with the card. But again, you can make a whole little story where she just ends up going on a little bit of a shopping spree because she feels like she's not paid enough, and now she has money, and it causes shenanigans. But in actuality, I would probably put it here. Mailing is a good-natured soul, and she's very friendly, and she would never do anything to hurt the reputation of her mistress. She's pretty good like that. Kwakama. I don't know. What would Kwakama do? See, Kwakama and Daiose are characters that are 100% controlled. Their actions are 100% controlled by individual interpretation. So, if she got the money, what would she even spend it on? Some would argue that she would spend it on cosmetics. I could see that. she wouldn't spend it on books. There's no reason for her to spend it on books. There's just no reason for that. The library's got like everything you could ever want. But if you don't believe her to be that much of a cosmetic hound or care about her appearance, what would she even spend it on, right? That's kind of the thing. So it's kind of weird. I don't know. I think she just wouldn't bother with it. I think there's some logistics to it. Then you could probably argue a couple of these categories already, but I'm just gonna assume if she found it, she just wouldn't bother with it because she wouldn't even know what to spend it on. She doesn't need books. Patchy's the same. Patchy's the same. She would not bother. She likes books. She's got all the books she could ever want, and you know, if she needs something, she built a fucking rocket for God's sakes. Like, if she needs something, then like Remilia will be able to get the stuff for her, you know? Like, Remy's like, build me a rocket, and Patchy's like, alright, and then Patchy built a fucking rocket. And it's like, alright, I guess she just has the budget for that, right? So she doesn't need to use a fucking stolen credit card, nor would she care to at all. Sakuya, much like Mailing, sometimes I feel like people don't remember, not really remember, but sometimes newer people to Touhou don't realize that Patchy doesn't work for Remilia. It's kind of interesting to think about, but Quagama does work for Patchy, and by extension, I guess she works for Remy. Mailing and Sakuya work for Remy. Patchouli is Remy's friend. She doesn't work for Remy, but she does do things for Remy. They're friends. It's like Remy's only real friend. But I feel like she's the stage 4 boss. She's sandwiched right between gatekeeper and head maid. Some people would probably assume that she's employed by Remy, but that's not actually the case. But she's basically at the whims of Remy anyway, so she may as well be employed. But no, she's just Remy's friend. Alright, and Remy. So Remy, well, Remy can just go in the simply doesn't use it tab, because she just wouldn't use it. But I feel like that's not doing her attitude justice. You know? I feel like that's not doing her attitude justice. But she's not above material wealth because she's in a big fancy fucking mansion. She's definitely not above material wealth. I could make a whole new category. That's the thing. I can make a whole new category for this. No. No, Remy definitely doesn't think she's above material wealth. Definitely not. She cares about her status, and a sign of status is shiny objects. She's very noble. She's very proud. The characters that are in the material wealth, above material wealth, are characters that pretty much live nomadically, or can just like they live for an existence outside of themselves, or they just have some fucking world creating power and they don't need money. That's all. How do you assume employees paid? They're not actually paid money, but they are given food and board. So that's the trade-off. You work at the Scarlet Devil Mansion, you get a room, and you are fed. So yeah, they don't actually make money. But they get a roof over their head, and they are given 3 meals a day. Which, well, if you ask me, that seems pretty fucking great. You know? Also, the fairy maids aren't even expected to do that much. The fairy maids aren't even expected to do that much. It's mostly Sakuya, but you are paid in board and food. Yum yum yum. That's why the fairies do it, because they get to eat. Sakuya is really good cooking. All right. Okay, for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna put Remy in the simply doesn't use it tab, because I could make a show out of it, but in the end of the day, she's just not gonna use it. She's too proud to use it. She wouldn't use it. Flandre, oh boy, isn't it fun that Flandre is actually quite an established character in the series, but she has more, actually this is her personality, than the green one and the red one here. I find that fucking insane. These two characters are not even characters, Everything about them has been created by fans, and they still don't have as much personality variance as this actual, real, honest-to-God character. Oh my god. Where would Flan go? Probably just with her sister. Nothing real complicated there. Yeah, I know. CDS establishes that all her needs are met. There's nothing there, so she just wouldn't use it. But like, even if she was a Goobu, like, what would she even do with it, right? What would she even do with it? Well, I guess if she was Goobu, she would try to find the owner, because that's what she would do. But again, personality. MPD. There's many different Flaunderies. There are 4 of them after all. Alright. Letty. I don't know if I'd call her above material wealth, but I would probably put her here. If only because A, she wouldn't care, or B, she wouldn't want to be a bad influence on the kids. Chen. Chen would bring it to Ron, and Ron would tell her not to use it. She would be told not to use it. She would listen. She wouldn't try to find the owner, but she would simply listen. Alice. I think Alice would ignore it, honestly. Alice has the capacity to, like, actually try to find the owner, but not the drive to do so, if that makes sense. Like, she wouldn't really go out of her way, but if she kind of happened to hear about the situation, she would be able to, rectify it pretty easily. But she would most likely just kind of not use it. Would she keep it? Probably. She would hold on to it. Some of these characters would probably just ignore it completely, which is maybe for the best. Some of them would just hold on to it just in case. And Alice is on Alice is on the category of, she would hold on to it. She wouldn't go out of her way to find the owner, but you know, if it comes up, then she would have it, and you feel safe knowing she has it. Lily. Lily is above material wealth. What does that mean? It means her entire job is to just fly around and go spring, and then she retires for like 270, 275 days, some shit like that. But like, she's a fairy. She probably has a concept of wealth, but I feel like her role as a fairy is so established that there's only really one thing going on in that mind of hers. Also, she works like every job known in the world on her off time, and she does it for fun, so she actually has a very large amount of capital already built up. How do you think she pays for the flight around the world, you know? Do you think she flies? She gets, she just flies everywhere. She doesn't do it for the money, she does it for the love of the game. She's on the grind. And then we have Lyrica. Lyrica would spend a lot. Lyrica is the shrewd one of the sisters. She's the one she's more likely to operate behind the scenes, and she would probably... Wow, that sucks. That's also gonna get mega claimed, you fucking idiot. Lyrica's the shrewd one, so she would probably spend in secret without telling her sisters. And then just be like, whoa, check out all these new instruments. Isn't that cool? And Lunasa and Merlin would be like, wow, that's so cool. And Lyrica would never tell them how it happened. That's what she would do. She's a little rat bastard, which is probably her only real defining characteristic, because the other two are happy and sad, and Lyrica is just Lyrica. Lunasa. I think Lunasa just wouldn't use it. Well, no, I don't think she'd use it. And Merlin, Merlin would spend a little bit, but probably try to find the owner as well. But I would say that she's most likely to spend a little bit. I wouldn't trust Lyrica. Lyrica is the one I wouldn't trust. She would buy a little too much. Also, I think a keyboard is probably more expensive than a trumpet and a violin, but I don't know. I'm just basing that on its fucking size and the amount of components that go into it. A trumpet is a horn you blow into. A keyboard has a bunch of fucking settings on it, which you can see with her big old prism keyboard. Yomu. Yomu wouldn't use it. That much is obvious. But I do believe that her sense of duty would have her at least try to find the person who it belonged to. Bankruptcy. I don't know if that's how you spell bankruptcy. Yiko. This character is a little too smart for her own good. And she would spend so much money on food to the point where the only way you could ever hope to get out of it is to declare bankruptcy. That's it. You're stuck. Inescapable debt, you still have your, your assets. Yiko, no. That's it. Hand everything in, start anew. You have fucked up. Well, I guess I'll go live on the fucking box. And then here's the thing. Remember, in this fictitious scenario that I have created, you never actually meet the person who took your card. So it's not like you can be like, hey, you literally ate me to bankruptcy, you motherfucker. And she'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, here. And then she, like, helps you. You will never know it was her. She will never know it was your card. You are simply punished. And that's when Yomu's like, Yuyiko. And she goes, tee-hee-hee, and then my life is fucking ruined. So, at least they're having a little Saturday morning cartoon moment about it. Meanwhile, I'm squibbered in the box asking for spare change. But I can't even afford the fucking box anymore. They took that away. Great, thanks, Yuyiko. Thanks. Asshole. Ron. Ron is not above material wealth. Ron is not above material wealth, but also she just wouldn't use it. Yukari? Yeah. Yukari strikes me as the kind of character who would probably spend some of it just to kind of do it. Maybe teach you a little lesson. Maybe to teach you a little lesson. It's spelled bankruptcy. Oh, whoops. Oh, whoops. What the fuck did I put? Bankrupt. Oops. Whatever. As a treat. No, I think she would probably just spend a little bit to be a shithead about it. Maybe teach you a lesson that don't pay more attention to your card. But then, she wouldn't really do anything with it specifically. I think she's just being a fucker. She's still a yokai after all. She gets her jollies by being a shithead. Wriggle, Nightbug. I bet she would buy something. What would she buy? Nothing like major, but she would probably buy something. Mystia. Okay, so here's the question. So, if we're talking Mystia's izakaya, Mystia would find the owner. She would hold on to the card at her stall and she would find the owner. But in canon, Mystia's kind of a little con artist. And she's not above shrewd business tactics. So, she might actually spend it to procure some ingredients. I think I would put her here. I think she would probably use some of it to procure some ingredients. And that's about it. But this is assuming she's, this is her canon, more conniving part. But obviously, if we're playing If we're playing Misty Izakaya, she would keep the card at her stall and look for the owner like that because she's a cinnamon bun. But in the real world, she's kind of an opportunistic bastard. Not a little bit though, just a little bit. She also really needs to cut her fucking nails. Kane, that's an easy one. Kane would try to find the owner. That's inarguable. Tay, ha 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 ha. Now, here's the thing about Tay. Tay doesn't need any of this money at all. But she's got a lot of things she can spend it on. She knows how to start up a business venture. This is the important thing. She'll take your money, she'll invest it into a business venture. If it doesn't work, who cares? It's not her money. Doesn't matter. That's business, baby. That's business. And then, oops, sorry. Business has collapsed. What do you mean I'm what? And then there you go, bankruptcy. Now you're in a box all over again. The color of pink is death. Do not trust the color pink. So yes, Tay herself wouldn't necessarily just spend it on a bunch of random shit. I think she's shrewd enough that she would put it like she would move the money in a way that is untraceable. She would be careful. She would spend that money, but she would be fucking careful that you'd never be able to figure out it's her. But obviously I would never be able to figure it out because I'm just an asshole. But she would be a professional money launderer. A professional money launderer. She'd be putting that money, withdrawing on different things, sending it to different places, untraceable. Her offshore Hollywood Hills account. And then you would be bankrupt and she would not give a single shit. So there you go. Raisin is definitely in the tries to find owner category. And the reason for this is because, okay, let's assume that, you know, I guess we can assume I'm in the human village, but also not. Maybe I just lost my card and for some reason transactions still fucking work. But Raisin would try to find the owner because A, she does frequent the human village peddling medicine, so she does communicate with humans. And B, she deliberately makes sure to go out of her way to treat others well, despite her own reservations with others, because she is an outsider. She's not a human or a yokai. She's a Lunarian. So the Ayante crew, specifically Eden and I guess Raisin, make very sure not to alienate themselves from either side, because then they'll be truly alone. So Raisin maintains good relations with the humans, so she would never do something that would cause distrust among them towards her and by extension Ayante. That's how that would go. That's how that would go. She might not find the owner, but she would try. Remember, she made a wooden cat carving in the manga to deal with the rats, and that was her own decision. That wasn't backed by Ed, and that was something she did 100% on her own. And I think it was Reimu who found out about it and confronted her about it and was like, "Are you pulling any shit?" And Raisin was like, "No, I'm not pulling anything, because if I tried to pull something and it got back to me, it would affect our reputation and our relations with other people." So Raisin and by extension Eden are very careful about their reputation with the denizens of Gensokyo, simply because they are outsiders. They don't belong to either group, and they are aware of that. Which is why Eden, that's probably why Eden does all of her, she does her checkups and whatnot for free. And you only pay for the medicine that you use. Like, Raisin delivers medicine to the human village, and then she checks back monthly, I believe, and you only have to pay for the medicine you use. But Eden herself doesn't really charge. She provides free checkups, and she's a godsend for the human village. But the main reason for that is because it helps her maintain relations with the humans, so she's not alienated. Because again, if humans don't like her, she's not a yokai, so she can't turn any yokai. Yokai don't like her. She's not a human. Like, she needs she's aware of her situation, and she's acting on it properly. And Raisin is an extension of that by being her her hands on the field. All right, Eden is like I just said. She would probably be, because she's not really leaving Ayante, it would just stay there with her. She wouldn't use it. She just wouldn't use it. If it ends up to its owner, it ends up to its owner. But because she's so goddamn smart, she would probably just assume that the card would cease to have value after a couple days anyway, so she would just leave it in her care until the whole ordeal is said and done. Kaguya, I don't know about Kaguya. Kaguya is weird, because some people would probably argue that she would spend it like a mad lass, but I feel like in actuality she does, like, she's obviously well dressed and she kind of has everything she needs, but a lot of the things that interest Kaguya is not stuff that money buys, you know? Take CDS for example. We know she sneaks out to the human village and just kind of walks around and explores stalls and stuff, but it's not like she doesn't need money for any of this. She's fine. She's well off. She doesn't care. She wouldn't care about it. Her source of enjoyment and entertainment and excitement has nothing to do with money or anything like that. It's simply her experiencing stuff in her immortality. And then we have Moko, who is probably leans heavier to the doesn't use it. Probably leans heavier to the doesn't use it, but because she does interact with humans to some capacity, she would probably try it. No, you know what? Actually, I take that back. Moko is not one to talk about herself. She'll guide humans to A and T, but she does not really speak about herself at all. So she would probably just ignore it. She wouldn't try to find the owner. Aya. Now, Aya could definitely find the owner, but not before you become a gracious sponsor to her paper, you know? Just enough. So this is how it would go. Aya would be able to figure out who the card belongs to, but she would spend a little bit of it, she would return it, and she would make mention of some of those purchases as a bit of a, you know, like, reward fee, you know? Like, I found your card, I spent a little bit of it, no harm, no foul, right? I just bought some papers, maybe some pens, couple things, consider it a, you know, she rewards herself for finding the card, and you're just like, okay, whatever, you know? It's the kind of thing that makes you go, that's kind of annoying, but you're not, like, pissed off at her, you know? And she's not going to actively approach you in a situation where she knows that you're going to be pissed off, because if she shows up and she's like, hey, you obviously are pissed at me, read my paper, you probably just rip the fucking paper up right in front of her, right? So she would spend just enough to make you go, that's kind of annoying, but, like, understandable, and you got your card back, so it's fine. Versus her deliberately fucking up, deliberately fucking up reputations. And also, there's no way she would spend a ridiculous amount, because if she got caught by somebody else, then she would be all over other people's papers, and then Aya is in the paper for credit card fraud. But no, Aya would find your card and return it almost instantly. She would be very good at that, but not before she takes a little bit of a sponsorship fee from it, which is okay with me. Medicine, I don't know if medicine has a concept of money, but I don't know. She's definitely not above material wealth. I don't know if her concept of money is really there yet. So I'm going to put her down to simply doesn't use it. And I'm going to put Yuka in the above material wealth. Again, like I said earlier, with PC98. PC98 Yuka is definitely a lot more well off. But Windows Yuka is kind of just, you know, she's kind of just hanging out. She doesn't live at any one spot. She's nomadic. She just travels around Gensokyo looking at flowers that bloom from the various seasons. That's how Yuka spends her time. She doesn't really have any place to settle down. But, you know, she still dresses nice. She's got her parasol, but she only really cares about flowers. Just seeing flowers. You could argue that she could use money to purchase flowers and flower stuff, but I also think the idea of the flowers being in their natural habitats is a part of what makes them so enthralling for her. But obviously people like to also present her as like a gardener or a florist and sell flowers, which is still a good approach to it. But we do know that she doesn't actually live in the Garden of the Sun, but it is one of her more frequented hangouts because she likes sunflowers. But she's traveling all around Gensokyo at any given time, just looking at flowers. What a life. Komachi's actually an easy one because Komachi is pretty much one of the wealthiest characters in the series because she does get paid to do her job, and her Danmaku all consists of throwing money, so she has an excess amount of wealth, but she doesn't really do anything with it. So she's not above material wealth per se. She does her job and she makes money, and her job gives her life purpose, but she just, she wouldn't use a credit card. She just wouldn't. Would she throw it? Maybe. She might throw it as part of an attack because it's technically money, but I don't know. I feel like she's got a better sense of responsibility than to throw other people's money around, even if she is kind of a shithead. Eiki would find the owner and then chastise you over it. Eiki would try to find you. If you didn't know, according to Aku, Eiki uses her off time. Eiki will actually use her off time to approach, visit people who are on the bad path to give them lectures. So she does this shit in her off time, too. If you're getting judged by her on her time, you're dead. But she'll just come to you if you're alive and preach to you anyway in her off time because she cares. So she'll try to find the owner, and then she'll chew you out about it, and then you'll get a lecture, and you'll be like, oh god, but at least I got my card. Shizuha. Shizuha strikes me as the kind of character who may spend a bit, but she lives a pretty modest lifestyle, so she wouldn't even be able to spend it on very much. So it would be smaller purchases, if any. But, it wouldn't be much. She wouldn't do very much with it. You could trust her with it for the most part. Minariko, I think, would be a little different, and the main reason for this is because Minariko is a lot more involved with people. She'll be actively engaging with people, and she'll be able to actually look for the owner better than her sister, whereas her sister is a lot more, not really reclusive, but her sister is not really hanging out with people as much as Minariko is. So Minariko would do the thing that would get her in the least amount of trouble. Hina would try to find the owner. Hina's actually quite good-natured. So, yeah. The problem is, if Hina found your credit card and gave it to you, that shit's cursed. That shit is omega cursed now. What are you going to do with a cursed credit card? That's going to put me in crippling debt. If Hina finds my card, I'm just going to ask her to rip it up. That's all. I don't need that card anymore. That card's cursed. If Hina finds it, that card is you don't have to worry about that anymore. You just don't. Nitori? Ha 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 ha. Yeah. Alright. Basically Rika and Rikako. Could Nitori spend enough money to make the characters above her like a joke? No. No. She's not as shrewd. She's not as shrewd as Tay, even if she thinks she is, and she's not as bottomless as Yuyuko. But she would definitely spend a lot. All about that coin, boys. And Momiji would simply ignore it. Sanai would definitely try to find the owner because A, she's from the outside world. She's very aware how credit cards work. And B, if she did use it, that would reflect very, very poorly on both herself and her shrine. So this is the best route for this kind of thing. Kaneko would be the same. And Suwako would buy some frogs. No. Suwako wouldn't do it. Suwako would hand it off to the other two. These two would make an effort to return it. Suwako would just hand it off to them and get them to do it. Suwako would not buy a frog. No. No. She wouldn't buy a frog. Frogs are not a thing to be purchased. Kisume. Does Kisume have a concept of wealth? Probably. But I don't think she cares. Yamame? Yamame? Maybe a bit. I don't think very much. She'd probably just buy some drinks. Megalobamba man. Alright. Yamame would probably spend a bit. Those underworlders, they, you know, they're a little more party centric than the above grounders. Parsi, Parsi would use it. Would Parsi use a lot of it? I actually don't know. The way I see it, Parsi would see how much money you have access to and get jealous, and then try to get a little, you know, make you spend some. She wouldn't spend a whole bunch. She wouldn't spend a whole bunch, but she would still spend some. Yugi, I don't know, man. What is an Oni's concept of money anyway? I know they drink a lot, but like they don't really think much about cash. Yugi owns a fucking hot spring. Like, she doesn't need a credit card. She doesn't need a credit card. She runs the hot spring. She's definitely well off, but Oni drink a lot. So like, I don't think she would spend somebody else's card. The other one probably would. The other one probably would, but at the same time, like, she has an infinite gourd, so that's all. Satori wouldn't use it. There's a surprising number of characters that you can kind of just not really trust to use your card, but like you can trust that the odds of them using your card are pretty slim. Oren. Does Oren even like... No, Oren would bring it to Satori. Oren would bring it to Satori. And so would Oku. They would both bring it to Satori, and Satori wouldn't use it. So by extension, they just wouldn't use it. That's just how that goes. They're very well behaved. They're very well behaved. They report directly to the pink one. Alright? Oh god, then we have the green one. What does the green one do? What does the green one do? Unknown. Unknown. We don't know. That is the scariest factor. That is the scariest fucking factor. There is no way to know what she will do. Will she spend it? Will she not spend it? Will she even understand what it does? You do not know. There is no way to know what this character will do until you put the card in her hands. Remember what I said before about how we have intrusive thoughts all the time? And how we have many different factors within our minds that filter these thoughts until we come up with a consensus in our head that's like, yeah, that's a good thought to have, or that's a bad thought to have. Koichi doesn't have that. She gets the first thought, the unfiltered thought, and immediately acts on it. And that's what makes her scary, because thoughts like that are, you know, primal and barbaric and unhinged. So usually the first draft of a thought has to go through a couple different factors before it's like, wait a minute, is this moral, ethical? Like there's so many things you gotta process, and it's like, all right, I've concluded my thought. Here I'm gonna say words now. This doesn't happen in this character's head. This does not happen in this character's head. If I walk by a store, I look in the window, I see something in the window, and I'm like, ooh, that's cool. Do I need that? How much is that? Should I buy it? Where am I going to put it? What can I do with it? Koichi, she looks in a window, she sees, ooh, that's cool, and then buy. That's it. Buy. Buy. And it's like, oh. Like, there's no additional thought. It's just the first... Like, she moves on instinct. The first instinct she has is buy, she buy. Everything after that, who knows? But me, I have to run like 5 different simulations in my head to figure out if it's worth it all. Not her. Not her. Not her. Nazarene. I don't think Nazarene would fuck with it because she has her own. She just dowsing. She likes finding her own stuff. She doesn't need somebody's credit card. Kogasa doesn't need it. She runs a business. She doesn't need somebody else's card. She might try to find the owner. Well, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's actually true. She might just not bother with it. Yeah, I think she'd probably not bother with it. Ichiden, this is an easy one. These are really easy ones. Marasa 2. Obviously Sho. Obviously Byakuren. Marasa's the only one that I could call a little bit of, like, maybe she spends a little bit. But I don't really know if there's anything that she wants. But Ichiden's definitely very well behaved. Sho is obviously very well behaved. And Byakuren is fucking Byakuren, so come on now. And Nue. Nue. You know what? I would put Nue here. Nue actually belongs here. And you know why? Because Nue gets her rocks off by people's fear of the unknown. We see that when her one fucking appearance in the manga, when she's talking with Mamizo. Nue's favorite thing is watching people fear the unknown. So if she got your hands on your card and just didn't do anything with it, she would relish in the idea that you would be afraid of somebody having your card, what they could do with it. Even if the actual truth of the situation is that I realize my card's missing, I cancel it, and it's like, well, now I gotta get a new card. But she'll think like, oh, this dude's probably panicking super hard. Ooh, I wonder what I'm gonna do with this card. Ooh, I don't know. So it's like, she'll probably do that. One highly suspicious purchase, then stops. You know what? That might be true as well. That might be true. She'll probably buy a little bit just to make it aware that like something's going on. Yeah, you know what? That's probably true. She would spend a little bit to make you aware something's going on, but the cohesiveness of the purchases would make no sense and it would confuse the shit out of you. But she's not spending a ridiculous amount. She's spending a little bit. Okay, this is how it works. She's not spending enough to make you go, I gotta cancel this card. She's spending a little and weird things to make you curious, morbidly curious about what the fuck this person with your card is doing. And you just kind of see these random purchases and you go, like what is going on? And that is the fear that she will relish in. That's how that works. Kyoko, she's part of the crew. Yoshika eats it. Sega. I don't think Sega cares. Sega doesn't care. If Sega wants something, she just takes it. Like, she doesn't need your money. She just fucking takes it. So she doesn't give a shit. Tojiko? I would put the entire Taoist trio here. They are pretty full themselves in general, but their main focus is on their pursuit of their religion, right? They're pretty well off anyway, but they're trying to attain celestial status through Taoism. Now you could argue that Futo would probably buy herself something nice, but that's just because Futo's opinions on Futo are varied based on how much you think she's funny. That's honestly kind of it. Honestly, if it wasn't for how short Futo was, she probably would be taken a lot more seriously as a character. But because she is as tall as she is, she gets thrown into some comedy roles a lot more often than you would think. If she was taller, she would be a lot more boring. That's for sure. She wouldn't be as funny if she wasn't as short as she is. Let's make her shorter than Lily. That would be good. Make her like Lily sized. Make her like Marissa sized. Marissa's even shorter than fairies. Alright. Mamizo, I don't know. Mamizo would do this. Mamizo would spend some, but not enough to really get, you know, Trace back. We've seen this with one of the chapters where her Tanuki are stealing food for the winter. We know that she does this kind of stuff in secret, so she'll be careful about it. If the opportunity presents itself, she will take advantage of it, but otherwise, you know, she's not an idiot. She's not an idiot, but she is opportunistic. So that would be that for sure. Wagasaki Hime, she's good-natured enough to try and find the owner. And by extension, Kagero would try to find the owner. Banki, I think Banki wouldn't care. Banki wouldn't care. Like, if Wagasaki found it, she would get these two involved. And Kagero would definitely try to help. But Banki's not as social, so she would, you know, she would still be there. But she would more fall into the camp of just, don't worry, I'm not going to run off and spend it. Whereas Kagero is going to actively be like, excuse me, did you lose a card? Kagero is, she's good people. Banki has an attitude. She's not a bad person. She just has a bit of a superiority complex and a bad attitude, and she doesn't know how to handle people very well. So that's why her friends are like, they're bubbly extroverts. Because you put Seki Banki between Wagasaki and Kagero, and it's like I don't know, it's like a sandwich. You got smiling bread and you got the depressed ham, and it's like, wow, this ham sure is great when it's on this smiling bread, you know, but take the bread away and now you just have depressing ham. It's like, oh, well, I guess it's just me and the ham. But if you have just the bread, you'd be like, wow, at least this bread is nice, you know? This is a terrible fucking, what are you even saying, streamer? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. Basically what I'm saying is that Seki Banki's personality is quite opposite and hard to get along with, but because her friends are so easy to get along with, that it's easier to kind of get used to her and see the parts of her that are good, as opposed to just being like, you are a bitch, and then, you know. Ben and Yatsuhashi. I have no idea. I have no idea. Not even a clue. Seija. I don't know, dude. I don't know. This is kind of a hard one. Like, she's not smart enough to force it into bankruptcy, but she's not really, like, able to buy a lot of large-scale purchases either, because she wouldn't know what to do with them. I think she would probably go on a bit of a luxury spending trip, but not, like, in a way that she would consider, like, haha, but, like, not really as detrimental as characters with expensive hobbies would, you know? Shimmy wouldn't use it. She's well off. Raiko is part of the Prism Rivers, but she's probably the most responsible of the three. Well, I guess four. So I'll put her there. Seidan and Ringo, I would probably put them... They run stands. Actually, I guess I would say their indifference is probably stronger. Even though they run stands, they would probably just not bother with it. They'd probably just, you know, if it is what it is. It's like Alice. Alice kind of indifference. If they run into it, they run into it. But if not, they're not going to bother with it. Thing is, Ringo is actually the most qualified to find the person it belongs to, because that was her original role in the Corps, is intelligence. She's very good at that, but you don't really see that part of her, and she doesn't really dress like that or act like that, but no, she was part of the intelligence division. She's quite informed on many different things that she probably shouldn't be informed on or probably shouldn't know about, so that's cool. But, you know, why do anything with that when you can not? Doremi. I have no idea what Doremi would even do with this. To be honest with you, I would probably put Doremi here. As far as I can tell, Doremi sells pillows, but she does it for the love of the game. She doesn't sell pillows because she's trying to make a big ass money. She's selling pillows because the pillows create dreams, and then she can go suck on dreams. I think that's what she does. I don't know, what do tapirs do? They like eat nightmares or something? Either way, she spends most of her time just hanging out in the dream world, so like she doesn't really care about money. The love of the game, I can't. What do you mean what do you mean? Don't you know that some people hustle not for the money, but because that's just the way they operate, you know? That's all it is. She sells the pillows because it directly influences how many dreams she gets to look at nighttime. Sagame, well actually I would put Sagame above Material Wealth as well. Clown Piece, I would put this here. The biggest thing about the fairies, I think, is that it's not so much that they wouldn't spend it, is that they don't think grand enough. Fairies don't have much money in general, and a lot of what they kind of get is stuff they forage for themselves. So when they kind of get access to money, their idea of a big purchase is something that you would probably consider a pretty minuscule overall. So she would be like, oh man, I bought all this cool stuff, and she'll buy like a fake skull. She'll buy like a fake skull and like red dye. Be like, man, this is so awesome. Because that, like, obviously a fairy can't just go get a skull, right? But she'll buy like 100 yen skull and be like, yeah, that's so cool. And to her, that's like a big ass purchase. It's like infinite money, he. But you know, that's the extent of her purchase. And it's like, okay, she's not gonna buy anything massive, you know. She's not gonna buy that much. Oh, that's Sonic Rush. I was like, is this like the fuck? Junko does not care. Does not care. Does not care. I didn't say she doesn't have a concept of money, but she does not care. Hikatia, if Hikatia actually, like, listen, if Hikatia actually cared, she wouldn't be dressed the way she is. She just does whatever she wants. Larva, Larva is a fairy after all. But I can't think of anything she'd want to buy with money, you know? I just don't think she would care enough. I wouldn't call her above material wealth, but I just don't think she would care. Nemino definitely doesn't care. That's definitely above material wealth. On is a good lass. On is a good lass. She would try to find the owner. She would be bouncing all around. But it's okay. If I saw my bank stub and it said meat, bones, meat and bones, I'd be like, alright, cool. That's fine, champ. What are you gonna do with those meat and bones? Eat them. That's what I thought. Alright. That's fine. Narumi. I don't think Narumi would do very much with it. She is a Jizo statue after all. They're pretty modest in general. Obviously, she's still a person, but like, she's quite modest. I don't think she would do anything. You know what? I'd say she's probably good-natured enough to try to find the owner. Maybe a bit, but it's hard to say with her. She's not a very explored character. Maya Satono, it's not so much that they're above the material wealth, but it's more like their entire lives revolve around serving Okina. So, like, they don't care. But this is also just me saying, who cares? So, who cares? Ohina. Ohina wouldn't care. See, I can't say that she's above material wealth, because she is a god. But I don't think she would care. She's not like Yukari, where she kind of teach you a little lesson with it. I just think she would, if it didn't interest her, she would just be indifferent to it. It wouldn't matter with it. Eika. I don't think above is the right way to phrase it, but her life is very simple. Her life is very simple. I'm not even sure she has a concept of money, considering she spent her entire life stacking rocks on the riverbed. The riverbank. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, it's easy to default them in the doesn't music category. Would you say that Eika would have a concept of money? She would have to have some kind of concept of money because she's by the riverbank, which means she sees Shikigami. She knows what that kind of money is, right? But she herself isn't interested in money. The only thing she's interested in is stacking rocks. Isn't she a fortune god? See, that's the thing, right? That's the idea, and there's a belief that she's a fortune god based on, you know, things, but there's nothing in Touhou itself that actually plays on the fact that she's a fortune god or does anything with that information. But at the same time, does a fortune god, like, what exactly entails a fortune god, right? Does a fortune god care about money, or is a fortune god just a god who brings fortune? Do they have to care about money? Urumi. Urumi runs a fishing business. And that's about it. Would she spend it? No. I think she would ignore it. Kutaka works directly under the Yama. It would be in her you know, job description here, I suppose. Try and find the owner. Yashie? Oh my. Congratulations. Not only are you bankrupt, you have funded a criminal organization. We'll be taking you into questioning now. She is very shrewd. She is a very shrewd woman. I would be shocked if she didn't milk that card for all it is worth. Mayumi would have... Well... Mayumi's a weird one. Because Mayumi... I don't think Mayumi doesn't have a concept of wealth. But... her character is a soldier crafted to serve Keiki. And her power is that her loyalty is her strength. So, she is... I wouldn't say she's devoid of a personality, mind you, but the crux of her character is that she is loyal to Keiki. And that's kind of it. You see her, she shows up, she's a soldier. She explodes, you never see her again. Like, what does Mayumi do? Not much. So, she's kind of robotic in a sense. She is kind of robotic in a sense. It's weird to think how she is a creation, much like Yumeko is, right? Because in this case, Keiki made Mayumi, and Mayumi is made of clay, and she's like freakishly loyal, and she serves that purpose. And then Yumeko was made by Shinki, but she is, you know, like flesh and blood. But I don't know, dude. I don't know. Anyway, Keiki I would put here, and this is only because I would assume that she would want to get her hands on some kind of material. She is a craftsman. It's more likely that she doesn't even bother with it, but she could also consider it as, you know, an offering to her as a god, and she'll just use that as offering to buy herself some stuff. That kind of thing. Saki, Saki's interesting because I don't think Saki would really, like... Saki understands the concept of the money, but she wouldn't really know how to use it. I think she would probably use it... She would probably use it for food, but she wouldn't be able to put away as much as Yuko, for example. She would probably stick to some pretty basic stuff. But she would spend a pretty good amount. She would still spend a pretty good amount, but I don't think she'd be able to outspend Yuko. Michael. Michael understands the value of money. Probably try to find the owner. Takane, much like her river counterpart, the blue and the green, she knows how to spend things. She knows how to spend for things, but I just wouldn't consider the Kappa quite the same as Criminal Masterminds 1 and 2 up there, you know? Sanyo? Sanyo doesn't need to spend it. Sanyo doesn't need to spend it. She runs the gambling parlor. She's fine. I don't think she would bother with that kind of thing. Like, you could probably argue try to find the owner, maybe, but I think it's more realistic to assume she just doesn't care about it. Misamaru? Misamaru... who knows with her, man? Who knows with her? She doesn't seem to care about anything. Ooh! Tsukasa? Now, the funny thing about Tsukasa is the fact that the Tube Foxes themselves, they're known to bring ruin to whoever they assist anyway. So, even if it wasn't credit card involved, if you got involved with this fox, you would be brought to ruin, financially or otherwise. So you bet your ass she knows how to fucking spend a credit card to the point where whoever owns that card is doomed. Megamo? I don't know. I don't think Megamo would need to spend it, but I think she would spend it just on principle. Why? Because I don't like her, and I assume the worst in her. That's why. Dreamer, you don't understand. No, I guess I don't, but I honestly don't care. Shimada? Now, Shimada actually does understand the value of money very much so. Ooh, but, specifically with her, her power with the market is more about exchange, you know? She understands the value of it. So she wouldn't spend it. She could probably try to find the owner. That's probably important. And Momoyo. Momoyo doesn't care. Momoyo is in the mines digging up shiny gems. Because they taste good, I guess. Like, she doesn't give a fuck about material wealth. She just wants to eat rock. I want to eat rock. Monkey. Now, Monkey's definitely a spending spree kind of deal here. She would be able to spend a good amount and get away with it, but you know, it's the usual suspects. Enoko? Enoko's a hard one to read. She's a bit of a hard one to read. I would probably just put her here for simplicity's sake. Chiari? Now, Chiari is interesting because I would put her here, and the reason I put her here is not from a lack of trying. Chiari is definitely a character who relishes in chaos, so she would definitely cause some chaos. But she wouldn't really know how to spend money, so she wouldn't be very good at this particular brand of chaos. So, yeah, that's kind of the extent of her. It would be like she's malicious, but she's not intelligent with it. So she wouldn't be able to actually cause as much damage as she thinks she could, based on her own inexperience with things like money. Hisami. Hisami does not care. The only thing Hisami cares about is Zanmu. Meanwhile, Zamu doesn't give a shit. Is Zamu above material wealth? Who knows? Who knows? But she certainly thinks she's better than everybody. Alright, now we have Ubami Chirizuka. Ubami Chirizuka. So, we know basically nothing about these characters. But she is a Yamamba, like Nemuno. So, there's a pretty good chance that she's indifferent to most of this. But who knows for sure. Then we have Shimihoju. We have literally no information on her. So she goes in the unknown tier. And then we have Nareko Michigami. What would she do? Who knows? We don't know. We have no idea. They're in that tier. The only reason the other one isn't in that tier is because her species leads me to believe that she is pretty chill about money in general. Now we have Suika. Now, Suika will be able to buy a lot of alcohol, and believe me, she will. But she does have her own infinite source of alcohol anyway, so she will spend a very large amount of money on different types of things, but no real one big purchase, you know? She will just rack up an annoying debt. Iku. Iku seems like the kind of character who would try to do right. Or she wouldn't care. But I'm choosing to believe she would do right. Tenshi. Tenshi is interesting. Tenshi is, as far as I can tell, like, doing fine. In fact, her whole situation is kind of weird to think about anyway. But I feel like the idea of her using just free money like that is appalling to her, so she just wouldn't even bother. She'd be haughty about it. She'd be haughty about it. This is a robot. He doesn't have concept of money. Hitate. I would want to put her in the same category as Aya, but Hitate doesn't leave her house. So, at the risk of similar risks as Aya, she would probably just not do anything with it at all. In fact, the odds of her getting her hand on your credit card is so astronomically low based on her own activities that if she did have her hand on your credit card, you probably would have had to, like, been in her vicinity, or she would have had to take it out of your pocket. You know? So at that point, it's not even, you know, she's using it because you've given it to her. Luna, Star, and Sunny. Luna would buy coffee. Sunny would buy various things. Luna would buy gunpowder. Star would buy gunpowder. Star would know how to spend more. She's not the smartest, but she would know how to spend more. So she's a little more worrying, you know. She's got channels. She's got channels. Kokoro, I don't think she would bother with it. Sumireko would definitely try to find the owner, because Sumireko, much like Sanai, is from the outside world. She's aware how credit cards work, and she wouldn't want to be found for credit card fraud. Jun. That is immediate bankruptcy. Now, the funny thing about this is that you could argue, oh, well, Jun only spends money if you have it. That's true. Jun does only spend the money if you have it. However, technically, with a credit card, you do have the money ad infinitum, and she'll spend it until suddenly it's time to pay it back and you don't have it anymore. So, oops. So, the first thing you need to do when you meet this character is educate her on how credit cards work, so she never takes advantage of a credit card. Be careful. Shion, bankruptcy. Slightly different reason from the other one, but you know, slightly different reason. Somehow she would be able to lose all of the money attached to the card. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me how she would. It's not enough that the card would disintegrate. It's that she would be able to forcibly remove all the possible money from the account, and then the card would blow up. She would find a way. That's what she does. That's what she does. Yuma? I would probably put Yuma here. Yuma is definitely shrewd, like Yashie, and she's a glutton, like Yuyuko. So she's kind of like a fusion of these three characters into one super-powered super criminal. Or she'll eat all the money like Kiryu. You know what? She actually could. Kiryu eats money and gains skills, and Yuma's ability is she becomes what she eats, so if she just swallows money, she'll eventually gain, like, Kiryu's skills. Yakuza 0 told me that that's how that works. So, yeah, she would just... If she ate your credit card, technically that credit card has infinite money stored on it, so she would gain 900,999 money. Like, she'd max out the money counter, and then she'd just fully upgrade herself on the first chapter. What a cheater. What a cheater. Akyu. Pretty easily tries to find the owner. Yorihime and Toyohime, they are not above material wealth. They are not. But they're obviously not going to use it, so no conversation there. Raisin as well. Raisin's not going to bother with it, because she's going to bring it to them, and they're going to be like, whatever. And she's going to be like, whatever. Kassen definitely tries to find the owner. Renosuke... Renosuke wouldn't spend it, but he wouldn't try to find the owner. He would keep it. He would simply keep the card as part of his shop. He would keep the card. So... Simply doesn't use it, doesn't quite qualify, but like he would definitely just keep it. Tokiko. I don't think Tokiko cares about anything, so I'm gonna put her in this tier. Kozuzu's definitely a cinnamon bun, right here. Fortune teller, he's dead, so he's above material wealth. Mioi works a job, definitely goes here. Mizuchi is actually kind of interesting because she doesn't really care about spending money. She doesn't actually give a shit about that. I know it seems easy to peg her as the kind of character that would do that, but like she doesn't care. That's not her. She's goal orientated, and her goal is pissing in Reimu's coffee, like really badly. She really wants to do that. Nothing else matters. Now, if she had Reimu's credit card specifically, then yeah, that would be instant bankruptcy tier. But, like, otherwise, she doesn't give a shit. Who cares? What does she need money for? She's a fucking ghost. Streamer, she's a vengeful spirit. Shut up. Shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. And then we have college students who are in the outside world. Very easy. Very easy. Did I finish CDS? If I finished, you mean I saw the chapter where Reimu said she was going to kill Mizuchi? Then yes. If you mean there was a chapter after that, no. I'm gonna kill you now. Wait, I give up. Hee hee. Problem solved. Alright, chat, so let's look at the list. So, at the top of the list, characters that you wouldn't want to have your credit card. Find your credit card. Aside from the Touhou 20 characters, we have Koishi, because she is quite literally unpredictable. And we have bankruptcy. Yuko would eat your card out. Tei is business lady extraordinaire. Yashie is business lady extraordinaire. I don't really know what Tsukasa would do, but trust me, she would find a way to ruin you. Jun would also find a way to ruin you. That's quite literally her power, is just to spend money. She'll find a way. Shion will cause virtual currency to combust into flames. I don't know how, but she'll find a way. And then Yuma is basically a combination of all of these, the top three. The tier below is for characters who have expensive hobbies, or just a bitch. So, you know, they build machines, and machines cost money. So most of those characters fall in that category. Mai is just a Mai, and Suiko wouldn't even buy expensive stuff per se, but she would buy such a large capacity of it that it would actually equal out to being pretty large. Spend a lot is for characters who would kind of just not care too much about the repercussions of spending someone else's money. Reimu would spend a lot. The PC98 characters, I'm just kind of guessing. Lyrica would spend a lot because she's pretty shrewd, but she's not criminally shrewd. Yukari would do it to teach a lesson. Seiya would do it in an attempt to bankrupt you, but she wouldn't be very good at spending money. Saki would spend it mostly on food. Megumu would spend it because she's an asshole. Bitem would do it because she has no self-control, and Star would do it because, even though she's a fairy, she seems to know about some pretty high caliber things to buy. You know, spends a little, spends but not intense. These are the characters that are going to spend a little bit due to maybe a moment of weakness, or because they don't care as much, or they just kind of the type to only really buy something they immediately need, and they don't think much else about other things. So that'd be the Marissas. They just kind of, if they would only really spend it if there was something immediately they wanted, and they could get their hands on it easily with money. Yuka, Luis, Yuki, just guessing. Rumia, I just think it's funny to assume that she doesn't really understand that she could spend more money on the card, and she would just spend enough to, like, feed herself when she's hungry. Alright. Merlin would spend some while trying to find the owner. Rigo would probably spend some. Misty would definitely spend some. Aya is a forced sponsorship. She's maybe a bit. Yamame, the underground girls, maybe a little bit. The unemployed ones. Nue would do it in a fun way. Mamizo would do it carefully. Clown would do it like the other fairies, Luna and Sunny. It's just a matter of they would spend, but they wouldn't be able to spend much because they just don't really spend on high profile stuff. Keiki would take it as an offering, and Chiari would not be able to... Wait, is it Chiari or Chiari? Uh-oh. Chiari. Chiari would not really know what to spend it on either, even though she would be trying to spend it. And then tries to find the owner are good-natured characters who would go out of their way to some capacity to find the person who owned the card and return it to them. And we have the goody two-shoes characters, the characters with a sense of duty, the characters whose reputations of their masters would be called into question if they, were caught doing bad. Humans, good-natured people, a surprisingly large number of characters in a tier where you would, high-trust society right here. And simply doesn't use it. Characters that would either just ignore the credit card or just kind of keep it with them but not go out of their way to find the person who owns it. A majority of the characters sit in here, which is probably for the best. I'd rather any of these characters find it in the top ones, but a lot of them are about as I said there. They just won't spend it because they don't care, or they'll pick it up and they'll hold on to it because they understand what could happen if somebody else got their hands on it, but they won't actually do anything with it themselves. So some will just ignore it, and some will hold on to it to prevent others from using it. So which could have been its own category, I suppose, but too late now. Then we have the characters who are above material possessions, or material wealth, which is to say characters who have their goals and lifestyles are pretty they're outliers to normal society. They simply live and they make do with what they got. They're nomadic, or they're high class, or they just don't have a need for money for one reason or another. And most of these characters are pretty set. There's a couple arguable in here for sure. Tenchi I'm not really sure about, but I do think that Kaguya and Miko belong in there for sure. I do think those are two characters that would in that situation, because the things they get out of life at this point have nothing to do with money itself, despite them being well off. And then no concept of money is eyeballs, robot, dead girl, balloon. There you go. You could probably insert bills into Yoshika's mouth like a vending machine. You just put the bill up to her mouth and she just sucks it in like a vending machine. And you don't get anything, but it'd be really funny to watch her just chew on a fiver like a vending machine. Just be careful she doesn't get your fingers as well. Streamer, what are you talking about? I don't know, man. It's just a stupid mental image that came to me I thought was funny. Yoshika-Cola. Yoshikola. Anyway. There you go, chat. There you go. Streamer has completed his list. Did you like it? Or are you mad because you didn't get 1,000 tiers with 2 characters in each of them? Huh? If you agree, let me know. You know, go to the comments. Let me know what you think. If we get enough comments, I can make a video out of your comments. Remember that. Which, by the way, I got another segment I gotta get to work on. I meant to contact Dushi about that back on like Wednesday, and then my internet was pissing me off, and now it's Saturday. So remind me to do that if I forget. But I got something. I gotta cook up. I gotta cook up. That's all. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, chat. I enjoyed doing this. This is fun. This is a fun little one. See, I think it's funny because I feel like for most of these tier lists that I do, it starts off like, haha, what? Here's a silly, stupid, like, dumb idea. And then I start and I'm like, well, actually, and then I like actually try to think about the character and how they would react in this situation and cite like actual moments in canon, or just tell you that I'm straight up basing it on my own beliefs. And it's like surprisingly cohesive dialogue for such a stupid fucking scenario. I enjoy doing that. It's goofy, you know? I get to talk about characters in different ways. Explore different avenues of their personality based on their situations. Because the thing is, a lot of the time we can only really make guesses to how characters would act in certain situations unless we actually see said situations. So, but this is part of character building for your own purposes, right? Everybody has an image of a character in their mind, and there are always going to be bits and pieces that are different to what other people may think. So there's that. A good example for me is definitely Letty. My opinion of Letty is hard-rooted in fanon. My preferred Flandre as well is pretty rooted in fanon, but that's fine. Nothing wrong with that, but as long as you're aware that it's fanon and not canon, and you don't try to tell people that it's canon, then you're good. You're good. I understand a character as well as I choose to understand them. But I have my own fanon I have my own fanon takeovers for characters in the sense that I lean way heavier into stuff that's obviously not canon. Because it makes the character, for me, more enjoyable, more interesting, and more dynamic than just being like, this character doesn't do anything except show up in one stage and be sassy, which they all do, and then that's the character, right? So you gotta get creative. And obviously PC98 is the funniest one because PC98 characters, the vast majority of PC98 characters have quite literally nothing to their character at all. There's no personality. You have to make the entire thing up, which is fine. But I will say there's a surprising amount of people who have decided that their interpretation of a PC98 character is canon based on, you know, 5 lines of dialogue, if you're lucky. Meanwhile, some characters a la Touhou 1 don't have any dialogue at all. There is literally no character there, so it's impossible to have a canon personality. You just whatever you believe this character and this character to do, feel, or think is 100% all in your head. All in your head, Luigi. And that's fine. Anyway, that's fun. I enjoyed, and we did it in 2 hours. So next time I do one of these lists, chat, we'll have Touhou 20 characters on there. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? We'll have total 20 characters with very poorly established personalities. I still don't know what's going on with the ones from the demo, but the one that's an Egyptian is funny, and I like her design, so there you go. So yeah, stay tuned for the next tier list / sorter that comes up, whenever that may happen.